Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, guide us through our meeting tonight and help us to make the proper decisions. Amen. Amen.
Who's making all the noise back there, Lee?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Present.
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 Present. Councilmember Fantasia is at the county supervisors meeting on the landfill project tonight. I think that's turning out all right. We just want to have someone there. And replacing Tom Hollinan is Richard Hardgrove tonight. Thank you, Richard. Any communications from staff?
Mayor, I'd like to take this opportunity. I have a certificate of commendation I'd like to present to one of my officers, and so this is, I think, would be a perfect venue for that. As you know, it wasn't that long ago we actually swore in David Ham, and he's already distinguishing himself. It's great. I'd like to kind of read what I've got here for him. On September 24th, 2002 at 9:45 p.m., Officer Ham observed a suspicious vehicle with a person inside parked on a remote canal bank near a construction site in Upper Road. He contacted the person, saw a knife sticking out of the person's pocket, and asked for a consensual pat-down search for weapons. The individual complied, put all kinds of stuff on the hood, and in looking over these items, he found a lighter. In that lighter, he found 9 little baggies individually packaged of methamphetamine. The individual was arrested and placed in the patrol car. Officer Ham, along with Officer Segala, also inventoried the vehicle prior to it being towed, and found more narcotics, a day planner which was used to track the sales of narcotics, so it was like his little sales receipts there, a loaded .380 caliber handgun, drug paraphernalia, drug packaging materials, 2 scales with methamphetamine residue on them. Also was found was a kind of an odd thing, a Merced County Deputy Sheriff's badge and identification card. The identification card was later found to be counterfeit, along with a set of handcuffs. In total, about 35 grams of methamphetamine was located throughout the vehicle, along with what was found on his person. And the subject was charged with possession of narcotics for sales, concealed weapon, drug paraphernalia, transportation of controlled substance for sales, and I think anything else they could put on that booking sheet. So with this, this began really with just a suspicious person contact, which ended with the drug dealer being put out of business, and it was only due to his diligence and professionalism this was accomplished. For this reason that I want to present to him a certificate of commendation for his outstanding actions, and which brought this individual to justice and kept drugs out of our community. With that. He's the big shy guy. He won't.
You have 45 minutes to say something.
Yeah. I'll take his 45 minutes for him.
You're being shy tonight, huh, Officer Ham?
Congratulations.
You could have just come up there and said, just say no to drugs.
So that was a roving store?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. He was doing everything besides had the pizza delivery thing on top. So it was pretty good. So thanks, David. I think that's about all we're going to have. All right.
Thank you, Officer Ham. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also have some other, this is more minor things. We have 2 things that are occurring on October 19th. We have the Historical Society wanting to do they're having a fundraiser, and they're going to have a street closure. It's going to be on our street between Kern and Mariposa. And then you'll be hearing about this a little bit later, but we're also having another street closure on the 19th for the Frugger fundraiser, which will have a car show on Q Street between Fresno and Tulare. So, and we can go through any questions you might have on the Frugger one, as it's an item later on in the agenda. With that, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present that to my officer.
I have a question of the chief.
Oh, yes, sir.
What's the legality of having campaign signs on trees in the city of Newman?
wonder who that's directed. We actually are addressing that with the city manager and the city attorney, so.
Well, I'll try to get a clarification. Is it legal, illegal, or?
It is, my understanding is illegal from my reading of the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Number 6, items from the public, non-agenda items. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you'd limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the council not on a posted agenda may be addressed by the general public at this time. However, California law prohibits the council from taking action on any matter which is not on a posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Any non-agenda items tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I see we
Yes.
have a non-agenda item that's being requested to be added to our agenda by staff. I think it's an appropriate agenda item with concurrence from my colleagues. I think we should add it to the agenda.
All right, let's make that,
Is that the form of a motion, or
Yeah, I believe by motion,
Right, it has to be
you
by
do
motion.
have to have that.
you so move?
okay, well, wait just a minute. Let's make that item number 9G.
Well, let's
Okay,
do
now we'll
it,
get a
let's do it
motion.
properly then, Mr.
Go ahead.
Mayor.
All
I
right,
move that
that's
we
just
add
the
that
number.
agenda
Go
item.
ahead and make your motion.
Item number G.
9G.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0.
With consensus or concurrence of the council, I'd like to move regular business presentations from 9A and B up to next. So to give them the opportunity to have their speech and go home and have dinner. And
Everyone concur with that?
I concur.
Sure.
Tim? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now that that's out of the way, I've got to find 9A and B. 9A is a presentation by Keith Boggs, Stanislaus Regional Roundtable Travel
Mayor?
and Tourism.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Did you want to read the second half of the,
Oh, I guess I
Item.
better, hadn't I? Would be in all kind of...
not that it's completely necessary, but
Richard was getting ready to hit me, I could tell. Items in the public agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the council on a matter on the agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time the item is announced by the mayor. In order that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, any person addressing the council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the mayor grants a longer period of time. And when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Now, we will have a presentation by Keith Boggs, Stanislaus Regional Roundtable, Travel and Tourism.
pass that button right there to advance. I'll get it started for you.
Good evening, Mayor Reed, members of the council. My name is Keith Boggs, Senior Management Consultant in the Chief Executive Office, Stanislaus County. Thank you for giving me just a couple of minutes this evening. This is an information-only item with regards to the Regional Roundtable on Travel and Tourism. I believe you help me out now if I...
There you go.
Brilliant. The Regional Roundtable was formed in June of 1999. We met first in that June of '99, basically as a primer, bringing the communities, the cities of the county together, the Stanislaus County government, chambers of commerce, to ask the question whether or not we ought to meet on a regular basis and discuss travel and tourism in Stanislaus County as a region. It was unanimously well received. That group has been meeting monthly ever since, and it includes all 9 cities, the county, chambers, convention and visitors bureaus, and tourism sector private businesses. I would like to add also that Judy Silver is the Newman representative to that group. And in that time, we have actually drafted 2 strategic plans, and we are in our second strategic process. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come and speak with you this evening was to just bring you up to speed with what this group is doing and some of the interesting projects that we're working on. They include the Spend the Day campaign, which is a regional marketing flyer that has been distributed in over 200,000 units from as far north above Sacramento, below Bakersfield, the entire valley floor, the foothill regions, and in its most recent iteration, the urban Bay Area region. Also, website development, spendtheday.org, which is a web portal-like page where all of the members of the roundtable have the ability to enter information, street festivals and fairs, cultural events, theater events, etc., on the pages. Networking and community involvement. Some time ago, we purchased a kiosk as a regional body, and just as recent as 2 weeks ago, put that kiosk in the Vintage Fair Mall. And as most of you are probably aware, over 9 million people go to the Vintage Fair Mall annually from all parts around the region within about a 1-hour driving radius. And so Newman is there in all your splendor, and as are the other 8 cities. And then local festival measurement program. Working with the Stanislaus County Office of Education, we have purchased Palm Pilots on a very Disney-like model, and have been, for this is our second complete year, measuring at point of contact, point of service, the various fairs and festivals throughout the county in that April to October window. And we were out here in Newman at your fall festival a few weeks back, and we have the results are here for you to take a look at. And I have a young man with me this evening who happens to be a native son of the lovely town of Newman, John Vargas, and he has been part of this group of young people who were trained on the Palm Pilots, and has actually been a team leader. And I'm going to give John in a moment here an opportunity to share his experience in that program. And then lastly, we've been working on agricultural tourism, developing a self-guided trail on the east side of the county, actually, the first trail, with the goal to have self-guided agricultural experiences throughout the county in each one of the 5 supervisorial districts over time. So we're working as a group and as a region, and it's been actually pretty positive to date. Some of the trends in tourism in Stanislaus County, and in other speaks I've started with the numbers because I have a sense that some folks take it a little bit more serious when they realize how much teeth there are in this topic area. I think if I had started with asking you how much travel and tourism dollars do you think comes into Stanislaus County annually, we would have been guessing around the room somewhere around, $300,000, $1 million maybe. But in all actuality, total tourism spending in Stanislaus County has increased $73 million from $269 million in 1996 to $342 million in 2001. So as you can see, it's pretty significant money.
I can't see.
You can't see. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Oh, that's awfully awkward, isn't it? Can I move this?
You can take that mic out too if you need to, and just
Okay,
hold it. That's
okay.
handheld mic.
Actually, just take my word for it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. You should have said something a lot earlier. You know, I may start to break out in song here. Okay. That's a 27.1% increase over that 4-year period. Most aggressive growth has appeared in the hotel, motel, and day travel categories, which we like, of course, to call the spend the day travel categories, at 32.8 and 26.2% respectively. Employment has also grown, 580 new tourism-related jobs in that 4-year window, and that's equivalent to about a 10.7% increase. Now, certainly, the roundtable and our monthly meetings and 2 strategic processes and those five programs that we're involving ourselves in didn't have a whole lot to do with that. But we like to think that we've aided and abetted, as the police chief might say, to that positiveness. And then lastly, other impacts: improved image. Seen as a community of communities. You know, regionalism is good on a lot of different levels, but primarily because communities are working together. Commitment to collaboration and teamwork. Consistency. All groups I think for the first time in a long time, are aware of what's going on in the other communities. You know, as recently as 2 years ago, Houston and Oakdale wouldn't talk for a couple of days during the month of May because they were having a fruit and nut festival in Houston, and on the same weekend in Oakdale they were doing a chocolate festival. And as we started to do the palm measurements and ask the residents of our community and those who came from outside the community in the Tri-County area, we started to realize and had the ability to quantify that people go to both. So it really didn't bother their attendances that they were on the same weekend. And a lot of that positiveness that came out of that was because we sit at the table once a month and talk about these issues together rather than those invisible barriers that had a tendency to be there in years past. Power in numbers. Yeah, we don't have the Pacific Ocean on our doorstep, and destination travel might not be in our near future, but when you start to put together all of those wonderful opportunities, those pockets of brilliance in all of our communities and package those, there is a power in those numbers. And then lastly, a positive message to ourselves, to local business with regards to retention and expansion opportunities. And one of the reasons why we see tourism as an economic development driver, and to new business with regards to attraction. More and more and more we're starting to see CEOs and folks that make those decisions to move businesses at the top of their list is not the incentives anymore. It's what's the culture like in that community? What kind of education for my children? What can we do after hours? What will my employees think as the positive of coming to that community? And so more and more travel and tourism and amenity and quality of place and all those descriptors are coming to the top of the list. So on that positive message note, I would like to introduce John Vargas. John has been a true leader in this program. He's a student, and he's going to just give a very brief testimonial, if you will, John, on his experiences with the palm measurement program. John Vargas.
Hello, members of the chamber, mayor. I've been doing this with several other students. There's 7 of them. We've been doing this for the past couple of months. We travel to all these places, as you can see. I'm a little nervous. It's been a good learning experience to us all. It's taught us people skills. And it's just been fun and everything, learning. I don't really know what else to say, but it's good. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That concludes our brief presentation. If you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, members of the audience, I'd welcome an opportunity to answer them.
Just one question. During your survey, how were the people? Were they receptive to answering the questions, or was it hard to get people to the survey that you?
Well, I think I need to turn that to John. What kind of experience was
What
it?
kind of experience?
What was your question again?
Well, you know, when you surveyed the people, how were they receptive to your survey? Did they find it interesting? Did they give you information without having you drag it out of them, or?
Some people were interested,
Uh-huh.
like they would be happy to. Mainly the older people in that, and others they didn't want to talk. They wanted nothing to do with it, basically.
Well, we have the questions.
It was, for instance, it's the first time you attended the event. Who are you here with today?
How many people in your party?
Yeah.
Does it need improvement? What does?
Where do you live? In other words, just trying to get general information out of them. And there's a whole bunch of questions here.
Yeah.
We actually had Dr. Kelvin Jessic Risdal, an economist from the University in Stanislaus, help to create the survey. It is a little bit generic,
Yeah.
so that it will fit the 16 festivals and fairs that we apply this methodology to between the months of April and October. We are going to retool it and add a couple of new questions based upon student feedback and, of course, public feedback these last two go-rounds. But our first year we started, I'll be very, very frank with you, we had wonderful intentions, and we rolled this thing out and had it on the Palm Pilots, and our county MIS folks made it all work, and it was just going to download so quickly. And then we asked for a call to arms from members of the roundtable to actually go out on their weekends and do the measurement. And thank goodness my 12-year-old son, Hans, was interested in doing this, because he really rescued the ship that first year. And it was apparent very early in that first year that we needed to find an external source of young people that were motivated to do this, because it was to get policymakers to go out and do this around the county almost what it felt like every weekend was really, really hard to do. So this next time around, the Office of Education and their Project Lead program, which is offered through the Workforce Investment Act and with WIA monies, they stepped up and they pay these young people a nice wage, and got them a uniform and trained them in the Palm technology and how to read the methodology and speak with folks, and they've just been wonderful. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Keith,
folks.
John, thank you very much. Moving on to item 9B, we have a presentation by Lee Lundgren, who's our new county clerk recorder, and she's going to tell us about some election stuff.
Well, thank you.
Which a few of us are interested in this year.
You still looking for
Thank you.
volunteers?
I sure am. Hello, my name is Lee Lundgren. I am the Stanislaus County Clerk Recorder and Registrar of Voters. I've come tonight to explain a little bit about what we're doing over there at the Registrar's office and the Clerk Recorder's office. I've just handed you each a folder with some information in it that I'd like to present to you and the people of Newman this evening, and let them know what's happening so they feel that they're a part of this election and they know that their vote counts, which is very important to all of us. The first document I've handed you, I would like to just let you know, is that Stanislaus County, as of this afternoon, has 210,876 registered voters. It's a very big leap here in the number of voters. It's gone up close to 15,000 in the last several months. And you can notice that on the document I've given you, it gives you the breakdown as of to party. And you can look down here and you can find the city of Newman, and you'll note that the city of Newman has 2,843 registered voters here. So you have a very good base. You've got lots of activity taking place with your voting community. We have several live polls that are going to be taking place here for people to vote at on November 5th. At each of those polls, we would like to see someone who can speak Spanish as well as English, who would be a bilingual individual. On August the 1st of this year, we were informed by the Department of Justice that Stanislaus County is a bilingual Spanish-English county as a part of the 2000 census. That has been a change that is a federal change. It doesn't have anything at all to do with California state law. This is federal law only. What it basically tells us is that we are now in the mode of trying to prepare, and all of our documentation, our paperwork, and our help at the polls in both Spanish and English pursuant to this federal law, the Federal Voting Rights Act. So I have written a letter to your mayor and sent it to your clerk as well, indicating that we're very interested in having any city staff members who are bilingual or anyone else in your community to help us with your polls here. So that would be great if we could encourage you to do that with us.
Ms. Lundgren, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
Just on the point about the federal law that you just mentioned.
Yes.
It supersedes our state law,
Yes, it does.
so we're complying with the federal law.
We are complying in California with the federal law. There are 25 counties in California that are bilingual Spanish-English. Los Angeles County alone has 7 different languages it must be bilingual in. Actually, it's not bilingual. I guess it would be something with a 7. I'm not sure. But it would be, that's what they have to handle. So we have just 2 languages here. Stanislaus County was bilingual from 1980 to 1990. In the 1990 census, it indicated that we fell below the threshold from 1990 to 2000. We were English only, and now we were back up in the threshold again. So these things do go back and forth, and they blend with the census, and that's exactly where we stand now. It is not related at all to the fact that California has voted to be an English first or an English only state. This is a federal law, and it involves and only involves voting. A few other things I have brought forth for you tonight to take a look at. I have a little information in there about what we do at the clerk recorder's office, but looking at elections, you can take a look and you can see that we register voters, we file candidate papers, we include and administer all the federal, state, county, and local elections. We will be administering the election for Newman, and we're looking forward to that on November the 5th. The last day any of your residents can apply to be a voter would be October the 21st. That is the final day. So they should either go down to your clerk's office, which I know has a good supply of applications for voting to become voters. They're called affidavits. Or they may contact our office directly, and we'll be happy to get them an application. The applications must be done in person. They must be handwritten and submitted. They can't be done online or on the internet, which I had heard the Modesto Bee had put an article in lately that was not correct. What I'm guessing they meant was that you could get an application online, not apply online. So that would make a big difference. Also in here I have an election officer application for you to take a look at. And I have put in here a demonstration ballot, which this last weekend we were at the International Fair, and we had scores of children come and get to vote on this demonstration ballot. We put it into an actual voting booth, and it has fun names on it: Anita Apricot, Benjamin Blue, Johnny Jasmine. They're just colors, but it gives the kids an idea, an opportunity how to vote. What's important, and the reason I bring it to your attention today, is this is the actual type of ballot that we would be voting at the booth in Stanislaus County. And this, you'll notice, there's no pre-cut holes in this. It's just smooth. That's what makes this a legal one. There's no chads on this.
No pregnant chance.
No, any kind of chads. The type that have the cut out holes so that you can just punch them out, those are the absentee ballots, and those absentee ballots are so that you can punch them at home. It's a system that reads it by light. It's light sensitive, so they have to be in the exact right place, and that's why it has to be pre-done like that on the ones that you do at home. A couple of other little figures I think are very important is we have now you can be a permanent absentee voter in Stanislaus County, and as of today we have 41,151 permanent absentees. I see there's a couple in here. Those are individuals who would be obtaining their ballot from us directly in the mail, and they don't have to sign the back of the sample ballot when it comes. It will just be mailed to them. In our office right now, we are preparing these ballots. They will begin to be mailed this coming Thursday, October 10th. That information has been sent out in a letter to all candidates today, so all the candidates would have this information at the same time in case they want to do any kind of mailing. Not every single one of those 41,000 will be mailed on Thursday. They will begin to be mailed on Thursday, and it will take approximately a full week before they are all mailed out. So a week to a few days more than that. There's also 14,000 vote by mail locations, and that's a place where there is less than 250 voters in a precinct. Those individuals do not get a precinct to vote at. They will only get a mail ballot. So that's a different situation as well. I brought a demonstration to show you here, and I just wanted to go over that real quickly. I don't know if your camera can catch that or not. No? Oh, darn. What you see there is the ballots from the last March election. And basically what those ballots show us is you have on one side the Democratic and on the other side the Republican. In a primary election, there are 7 parties and 1 nonpartisan. So what you're looking at there is 1/4 of the ballots that had to be printed in the March election. So you're seeing that times 3 additional sets that large. There's actually 49 different ballot types. In the election in this November, there will be 66 different ballot types. That has to do with the way the legislature has divided our county into not 1 but 2 federal representative areas, congressional areas, not 1 but 2 senatorial areas, and not 2 but 3 assembly areas, as well as the fact that we have 5 different locations by our supervisors. We also have Yosemite College District, and every single other little district that cuts it up, such as a fire district or anything else, causes a new ballot type. You're looking at something there that cost the taxpayers of this county over $700,000 for our last election. And the price continues to escalate. I think it's very important that we realize that we need to have those people who have registered to vote actually go out and vote. It's extremely important. The current election, well, actually, let me finish on that. Those papers you see in front of you, those ballots, each ballot has about 5 or 6 different cards. That's considered a ballot, not each piece of paper, but each set. And if you count each of the different cards that had to be printed, times the 8 different sets, 7 different political parties and the 1 nonpartisan, we had to print over 34,000 different pieces of paper, times the 200,000 plus voters we have. So you can see it's very serious, it's very important, and we really like to see as many people become voters and maintain that voting as is possible. I would interview or take any questions you have at this time. I really wanted to come down here and have an opportunity to talk to you and let you know a little bit about what goes on with elections. It's a complicated matter, but well worth it for our freedoms in America. And I do hope that everyone watching on television has the opportunity to vote. Questions, gentlemen?
I had a couple of questions on the absentee ballot.
Yes.
What do you see for the future as far as the absentee ballot? Is that something that's going to come predominantly the way people vote?
The state of Oregon has a 100% absentee ballot, and I've often been asked if we believe that would happen in California. All I can tell you is that California has very strong conviction that people have a right to vote at a polling booth, and that they have a right to go down and cast a ballot rather than just vote absentee. I don't know how long that will last, but these things do go in waves and do change, so it's up to the voter and the standards as well. Something I think that's very, very important for everyone to be aware of is that there is going to be a proposition. It will be on the ballot. It's Proposition 52, and it allows same day as voting registration. I think almost every other clerk recorder of the 58 counties of California are very much opposed to this. In the whole history of California voting, there has always been a 28-day close, which means you close registration 28 days before an election, giving you the opportunity to mail out the proper information to voters, to prepare it in all other ways. If you have, for example, someone who's 17 years old and they're going to turn 18 on the day of the election, that individual can sign up to vote when they're 17, and their voting will take place when they turn 18. If you have a person who just became a new citizen of the United States, somewhere between the date of the close and the date of the election, then there's an ability for that individual as well to go forth and register to vote. The problem with this Prop 52 is there is no restriction on who can walk up to a polling booth and say, I want to register, I want to vote, and that's a live ballot they're casting that goes directly into the ballot box. It's not kept aside like a provisional ballot. It goes right into the ballot box. They believe that the state of Michigan's election was altered at the time that Jesse Ventura ran because of the huge amount of college students that went from polling booth to polling booth, signing up and voting those days. And there was literally nothing that could stop them from doing that if they're casting live ballots. So it's a very dangerous thing. We're very much against it in California. I think that voting is a privilege and a right, and it's certainly something that we would like to see as many people do as possible. But we also want to see educated voters who read the sample ballot, who know who they're voting for and why they're voting. And that's one of the reasons we would like to see a close and an opportunity for them to read before they get going any further.
My other question was, presently, I believe that absentee ballots are actually counted after the general election is closed. Is that accurate?
An absentee ballot is sealed in this county in either a blue or a green envelope. And it is mailed into the office with the individual, the voter's signature on the back closing that envelope. What happens if you mail that in is they get an opportunity to scan them in our office so we can tell who voted, and then each and every signature must be reviewed by person watching the signature against the original signature on that person's voter affidavit. And of course, a voter affidavit is another word for the registration card. So that means 50,000 are being mailed out, 55,000 plus are being mailed out in the next week and a half. And we anticipate that as they come back in, every single one will be reviewed. As they are reviewed, they can be put aside, and within 7 days of election, they can start to be counted. So being prepared for counting, in essence. They aren't pre-counted, but they're put aside for that purpose. And then on election night, generally, those are what are counted first.
Okay.
What we normally find out is many more come in on election night, are dropped off at the polls, or received at the office, and then those have to be continuously counted. The law indicates we have 28 days after an election to certify it. And sometimes it takes that entire time to count by hand, looking, not counting, but looking at those signatures. And then, of course, it puts it in the counter and it's just instantaneous. But the hand review of the signatures does take a lot of time.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You mentioned a figure of 250. That's the amount, you have to be over that amount to have a precinct, right?
To have a precinct where you could actually vote at the precinct, it's the number is between 250 and 1,000 individuals, yes. We have in California, or in Stanislaus County, I have some figures at the bottom here for you. We have 439 total precincts. They have been consolidated into 351, which means they have the same things they're voting for. Of those, there are 230 vote at the polls and 121 vote by mail. So 121 of those precincts has either 250 or less voters, or they're on federal property.
Okay, what...
And don't ask me
now-
where the federal property is, because I'm not sure.
Now, for instance, we have a precinct like that here in Newman.
I'm sure you have several in the
And,
country.
there's a subdivision being built now that I think will be in that same precinct. Now, and with that other subdivision, will that still be vote by mail, or will that be changed and it will have an actual precinct to vote at?
The precincts change with each election, so that if there's a increase in the population or the voters in that precinct, then it would be placed, if it reaches over 250, then it would be placed in a vote at the polls voting precinct. And that's what changes. If you build a new subdivision, clearly you would be in a position where that could happen. If you build a new subdivision, you could actually add 2 new precincts if you had 2,000 people sign up. They'd have to cut it in half and have 1,000 or less in each precinct. Now, 2 or more precincts can vote at the same polling place. That happens on occasion too, at different ends. If they can't find enough polling locations, Say they go to a church or a school, one might be at one end and one at the other. But they do vote a separate ballot, they vote a separate ticket for their precinct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions?
In the back.
Yes.
In the back, okay.
Hi. Hi.
Would you get, Mary, please?
I'm Mary Ramus, 1030 Orstemba Road here in Newman, and I've had a question that has bothered me for a long time regarding absentee ballots. When I went and picked mine, turned mine in Modesto here last year, they told me that in Modesto that their envelopes are prepaid. Now, I don't know if that is for city elections or if it's for the statewide elections. But I feel that if part of us are going to be forced into an absentee ballot, that we should have a prepaid postage on it to entice the people to vote. Because I know some people are pretty cheap. They are not going to pay for a stamp to put on an envelope. And the other thing is that I like to bring mine in on person because I just had a case where I mailed my daughter a birthday card to Madera and it took over 3 weeks to get to her. I had to end up canceling my check. Now, if I'm mailing something to Modesto and it takes 3 weeks, bye-bye vote. And when it comes to local issues, then those absentee become important. Because I know that sometimes some people win by 20 votes. And before you know it, one's already announced as a winner. They haven't quite cleared the others. And I myself like to come into Newman and put my ballot in there. Now I see it's not going to be counted until maybe 28 days later. And it gives you the feeling, why vote? It's not going to even be put in the papers. In fact, sometimes the results aren't even put in the paper, except that so-and-so vote and so voted. I like to know what our area did. That was one of the things I would like to know, if that's in your capacity to see if something like that could be inaugurated, where it'll be postage paid or whatever.
Well, let me try to answer all these different questions. Let me try to answer all your questions. Mary, you want to have a seat and I'll... The first question is, all ballots are sent out identically. So they're either all paid or they're not all paid, and they're paid to return to us. So all you have to do is put your ballot in the mail and it will come back to us. That's what should be happening. Now, the second question that you asked, how long will it take my ballot to get there, and do I have to go to Modesto? If you want to drop your ballot off on election day, you can actually drop it at any polling place. It will be put in with the rest of the ballots, and when it returns to our office, it will be in its envelope. It won't be out of it. It will be checked like a regular absentee ballot, and then we will count it. I can't help with the papers print, but I do know your ballot certainly does count. Because what's very important for us to know is that not until all of the ballots are counted does our office certify, and do I certify an election. Certified election is the actual final vote. And there's a couple instances I'll give you with regard to that. Last March, in the city of Modesto, there was an instance where one of the city council individuals had someone running against her. At the time that vote was over, it went back and forth until the point where there were 80 votes determining that ballot. And it wasn't until there was a certification that anything was printed in the paper finally. Another incident that I personally witnessed in November of last year was watching the city of Keys, and it was having a local district election. 3 individuals running, and the district was 29, 30, and 31. That lasted almost all the way through the evening until the very end, when one got a little bit more than the other. You're talking about 1 vote difference in that instance. So each individual vote counts very much. And of course, we count them all. If you want to make sure if your ballot has been received by our office, you can call our office and we can look it up on the computer because they're all wanded in as they arrive. What isn't done immediately, and is done as we can do it, is checking those signatures. It takes a very long time, and they're each one personally hand-checked. The only thing I can say that should make us all feel somewhat better is when you compare us to Los Angeles. Los Angeles has 5,000 voting polling locations, times 4 to 5 poll workers at each location. It hires, in a one-day election, 20 to 30,000 workers for that day and tries to handle millions of votes. So we only have 230 to concern ourselves with, and we certainly make sure that we have a good focus on all of them. There is something I would like to mention, and I think this might also respond about how important a vote is, and then I'll be finished for the evening because I know I'm supposed to be only 3 minutes. I've been way over. This is called Does One Vote Count? And this is a historical rendition of how important voting really is. In 1776, one vote gave America the English language instead of the German language. In 1845, one vote brought Texas into the Union. In 1868, one vote saved President Andrew Johnson from impeachment. And in 1876, one vote made Rutherford B. Hayes President of the United States. Here's the biggest shock of all, and I want you to remember this when you go to vote, how important your vote is. In 1924, one vote gave Adolf Hitler control of the Nazi Party. How different things would be if we don't vote. So get out there and vote. It's very important. Thank you.
Okay, this is a what-if question. Okay, you get a big subdivision coming in. Part of it is in Stanislaus County. Part of it maybe is in Merced or San Joaquin County. But the address of the person there living is in Stanislaus County. Do they differentiate as to whether you are legally in a different county than in Stanislaus County, or is it the address, or what?
People are allowed to vote by law in the county in which they personally live, not where they work, not where they own property, but where they actually physically live. If you have a subdivision that would be straddling 2 county lines, you'd have definitely 2 precincts. You'd have one precinct for one county and one for another because they would have different requirements of voting and different people to vote for, and different, everything on the ballot would be unique to that county. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And remember to vote.
Yes. All right, let's get back to item number 7, which are public hearings. Item number 7A, Supplemental Law Enforcement Services Fund and authorize expenditures for funding. Mike?
Yes, Mayor and City Council. The city is eligible for $100,000 in funding from the state for, in the form of a grant called the Supplemental Law Enforcement Services Fund. It's something that we've had for the last 3 years, and there are about 3 requirements. One is that the money has to be used for frontline needs of our municipal police services. Funds must supplement, not supplant, items in the budget, and then a public hearing has to be held for community input. The funds have to be expended by June 30th, 2003, with any remaining funds to be turned back to the state, which we never do. So, I have surveyed the department's needs for the upcoming year and have attached a list of recommendations as part of the staff report. They are first, I'm looking at $10,000, which you go towards the school resource officer, or SRO, salary benefits, and the upgrade in our corporal's position that we did last year. We have $48,058 for capital repair and replacement of equipment or assets. Basically what this is basically where we usually buy our police car through that, And all this technology that we've been getting, we got $100,000 of technology money. But with that, you have to have money to replace this technology that you're buying. It's nice to have all this new stuff, but you have to be able to, down the road, be able to replace that. So this gives us an opportunity to get into that capital replacement. The other thing that we're looking at here is also $41,942 for the full-time animal control officer position, overtime for our officers for various overages that are outside of what we use the budget for, and our part-time office staff. So with that, that all adds up to $100,000. It was very quickly spent. And I've taken kind of questions regarding that. I went over that kind of quickly, but if you have any kind of questions between any of those categories. I also had a third caveat that if let's say we did not expend all our overtime, or for some reason we didn't expend things in different one of these categories, that we'd also have a category here, kind of a catch-all, and that would be for officer equipment replacement, less than lethal devices, and community outreach programs. We run programs such as our Explorer Scouts, we have the community barbecues, we have our volunteer programs, and we'd like to be able to have some money to set aside to be able to offer those. That's not in the budget currently, so that gives us an opportunity. So if there is some money that's left over, that we'd be able to utilize it in these areas also. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any kind of questions you may have.
I was surprised at the League of Cities meeting. I attended the police chiefs conference, and I thought it was kind of odd. At some of these cities, they go out and buy all this equipment, all this new technology, and don't have any money for training, and end up selling this stuff. I assume you have training money in here.
It's when we buy it, when we first purchase the technology, we get the training as part of when we purchase it as one package, because there's no use buying software if you can't run that software down the road. So
well, these places did that.
Well, I can assure you that's not something we do. We get this funding very. It's very unusual that you get this amount of funding for such a small community, and so we don't take that task lightly when we spend it. So great.
Chief, I just had a brief question.
Yes.
I think this is great how you've organized this discretionary funds from the state. The full-time animal control person, is part of that funding still being supplemented by our neighbors there in Gustine?
Yes, it is.
I thought that was the case.
Yeah, that's why we're looking at that. That's also coupled with overtime and our part-time staff that we have in the office at this point too. So
I think this is a wonderful plan for the projected amount of funding. But as you stated in your staff report, it would not supplant our budget. This is still depending on if the state is allocating these funds for the.
That's correct. This spending plan would only go into effect if we actually receive the funds.
Let's cross our fingers.
Yes, we will.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Mike?
We need a public
Okay,
hearing.
we're going,
Oh, okay. Usually have the questions after the public hearing.
well, no, not necessarily. We're going to open this public hearing. Anyone have any comments on that? Not, we'll close the public hearing. And
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the supplemental law enforcement services funds and authorize expenditures for the funding as explained in attachment A.
do we have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 7B, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled Uniform Solar Energy Code 2000 edition. Any questions?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, and just mention, it's my understanding in talking, I believe I mentioned this to the Mayor, these do have to be handled individually, individual public hearing for each item. It is because they are individual separate ordinances.
I already asked that question. We can't lump them, though. They have to be done one at a time.
So, yeah, we do need to do that. If there's any questions, maybe you can ask them all at once at the beginning if you want, but these are uniform building code requirements. They are required by the state. We don't really have a choice. We have to implement these. We have to adopt these new code changes with the state. The one point that I wanted to make as we get into these is with items B and L. Those were put in there by mistake. We will not be adopting those tonight, so those two need to be pulled from your agenda. Items 7, I guess 7B, B, and
See, now that
L.
we already started, now you
Yeah.
tell us.
And L. So those two items you can strike.
Is it B?
Reading through this solar energy code, I didn't see solar energy mentioned in it at all, so I'm not sure why it's there anyway.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. On the actual agenda, there are the two items that relate to the Uniform Fire Code. Okay?
Those are the ones that
If
we
you
don't
look
have.
at your front agenda, it is actually item C and item M. I was looking back in the packet information, and they're lettered differently back there, but it's item C and item M in your front agenda. Both related to, one is the Uniform Fire Code 2000 edition. The second one is the California Fire Code 2001 edition.
That's not how they're listed.
I'm lost, that's how they're listed.
It's,
It says B, Uniform Fire Code, it says L.
C.
Well,
Well-
there's two different places. What,
Well, in the front page they're correct.
on here it is item C
On,
on your actual agenda, not the staff report, but on the actual agenda.
yeah, let's go by the agenda.
Okay?
That's what I'm
On the
looking at.
actual agenda, it is item C and item M
That we're striking.
that we are taking
Right.
out. Okay? Is that?
or B and.
Apologize. Back in the staff report, they have different
Or B and
letters.
L.
So, okay, clear as mud.
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So anyway, that's just a note, and then you're welcome to go through. We do have to go through the process, have the public hearings on each one, I
Council
believe.
wants to say something.
Okay.
Yes, you do have to hold a hearing on the individual codes. However, the council may, if they choose, simultaneously consider comments on any of the codes at one opening session of the hearing. In other words, the hearing requirement can be satisfied as to all of them by acknowledging that the hearing is open as to any and all of the codes as set forth in the section 7, and receive comments that allows the individual audience members to comment on any of the specific codes that are listed, and you will of course approve the ordinances as necessary to put them into the city code. And as you have pointed out, Mr. Morris, the purpose is to prevent inconsistency with the state law, which goes into effect on November 1st.
Right.
And this is what my question was.
Sure. Now, we can do the public hearing, but do they have to take an individual vote on each ordinance?
Yes, I'm not
Okay.
going to go into that because that's just a matter of procedure that
Sure.
whatever satisfies you, but for the hearing purposes,
Opening and closing
you can
each
open
one
and close and
individually.
allow comment on any of the listed
Okay.
codes,
Thank
All
you.
at once.
all at one time.
That's what I wanted.
All right. Should we take all of the codes, 7A through Q?
Actually, it would be
accepting-
B, right? Because A we already
Accepting C
did.
and M?
That's right.
Yeah, excuse me, 7B through 7Q, accepting 7C and 7M?
Through
Or B and
S.
L, or B and L, whichever.
Well,
Whichever
we'll
one you
we'll
wanna
take
go
it by the, we'll go by the agenda
On the
here.
agenda would be
Right.
better,
Yeah.
yes.
Agenda.
Conformance
Correct.
with the posted
Right.
agenda, to avoid
It's
confusion.
actually item S,
Well, I
Mayor.
think we're
There's,
already confused, so I think
No,
that's.
we're not.
No, everything's copacetic here. So we are on 7B. Is there anybody have any comments on any of the items? Before-
Just for the audience to understand, the removal of the fire codes is, there has been some difficulties arise with regard to the fire codes, and this is probably the last adoption by the cities in the state of California that is not going to involve some difficulties. There is a conflict between the two major organizations that establish fire code regulations, and they are no longer speaking kindly to each other, and it is anticipated that in the future there will be controversy with regard to these, which will bore all of you to death, but the fire chiefs are very adamant about being able to express what they feel is appropriate, regardless of whether another fire chief agrees with them or not. And I'm not about to get into that, but that is one of the reasons for the difficulty here on the fire codes tonight.
Sounds interesting.
Yes. Well, it's almost as arcane as being an attorney.
All right, Bob, do you have any comments on any of these items? I went through all of them. And I didn't see- I didn't see anything, except the, as I said, the Uniform Solar Energy Code. I didn't see solar energy mentioned in it anywhere, so I'm sure it's in there somewhere, though. Tom, you have anything? Any questions? Tim, any questions?
No, Mr. Mayor, I would pose a question to council just in clarification. I know that we were able to have the public hearing on each one of these. Subsequently, when we move to approve them, does it necessitate we do them individually or not? You're saying that it does, or you don't want to get into that quandary?
I really would prefer not to get into that. They are listed separately, and because they are listed separately, I believe it would be more appropriate to consider them for adoption separately. Unless the city manager was told otherwise, I don't see how you can avoid that since it was agendized in that fashion.
Very well.
All right, let's start with item 7B. We'll open for public hearing.
Okay, now this is where we can ask the public, they can comment on any of these.
Yeah, okay.
And then they say no.
Does
then we're out of
anyone-
public hearing and vote.
Anyone that has has the agenda of these items, have any questions or comments on any of the items on item 7? Good. Now, we can close the public hearing, and then we can vote
Now,
individually on
right.
these, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, 7B, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference a certain printed code or document in book form entitled Uniform Solar Energy Code 2000 edition.
Move to adopt.
Actually, this is to introduce these ordinance tonight rather than
Oh.
adopt. They'll be back next time for adoption.
You're introducing and waiving the reading
reading,
at this
correct.
time.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So,
The action should be to introduce the ordinance.
just introduce the ordinance. Motion,
Correct.
Okay.
Move to introduce.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 7D, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled Uniform Plumbing Code 2000 edition.
Move to introduce. Come on,
Second.
guys, come on.
Wait a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Item number 9E, ordinance number 2002, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled Uniform Mechanical Code
Move to
2000
introduce.
edition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item 9F, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled Uniform Administrative Code 2000 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. 9G, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled Uniform Swimming Pool, Spa, and Hot Tub Code 2000 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. 9H, ordinance number 2002, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled National Electrical Code 1999 edition.
Move to introduce.
That was actually number 7H, not 9H. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 7I, ordinance number 2002, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Building Code 2001 edition, including the appendix thereof, volumes 1, 2, and 3.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 7J, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Plumbing Code 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 7K, ordinance number 2002, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Electrical Code 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Mechanical Code 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 7N, ordinance number 2002, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Historical Building Code 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Under ordinance number 7, item number 70, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Code for Building Conservation 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 7P, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Energy Code 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Item number 7Q, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Elevator Safety Construction Code 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. How many elevators do we have in Newman?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, I know, there's one in the old Simon Newman building, but it doesn't work, so.
Odd fellows.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Does it work? Oh, okay. That's interesting. All right, item number,
7BR.
You got two more to go.
Two more.
that's what I was, oh, okay, there I am, okay. Ordinance number, or item number 7R, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Administrative Code 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 7S, ordinance number 2002, next number, adopting by reference that certain printed code or document in book form entitled California Reference Standard Code 2001 edition.
Move to introduce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Mr. Mayor, with that said, I'd like staff to look into the agendized items when this comes back to us, because it will, because it's just being introduced, to see
Yeah.
whether or not by protocol and through the state, if they can be put together as one agendized
What,
item.
what we will do at the next meeting is simply place them on your consent calendar. We can do that way, and then they
There
can
you
be
go.
adopted by one motion.
There. Way to go.
How come we didn't think of that before?
Well, there has to be the public
That's
hearing,
right, yeah,
so
that's-
we can't get
okay,
around it the
all right.
first time, but we will next time.
Okay. Now, we come to item number 8, the consent calendar. 8A is approval of warrants. 8B, approval of minutes of September 24th special meeting, September 24th, 2002 regular meeting, and September 26th, 2002 special joint meeting. And item number 8C, resolution number 2002, next number, a resolution supporting efforts to pass the Housing and Emergency Shelter Trust Fund Act of 2002 on the November ballot. That's proposition number 46. Any question?
So move, Mr. Mayor, unless there's discussion by my colleagues that we approve the consent.
Second.
calendar.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Okay, and item number 9. 9C, reconsider authorizing city manager to execute agreement with Woodside Homes to defer wall improvements. Was this the third time this has been back?
Yes.
Has anything changed?
Mr. John Crowley asked me to express his concerns for him. He was unable to be at the meeting tonight. The point he wanted to make is, and I somewhat agree with him, is if there is any inclination at all amongst the council that you may consider the rezone, then this agreement makes sense, because we definitely don't want a wall between the two residential subdivisions. And essentially, the city is at no risk with this. The developer is the one that takes the risk, because if the rezone does not happen, he has to take the wood wall out wood wall out and put up the brick wall. With that said, I think we've been through this enough. I don't think the council needs much debate on it, only that you understand the issues. And I believe if you do elect to consider this, our city attorney talked to me earlier and has one recommendation that we add to the agreement if you consider doing that. And so.
Yeah, this is my first time with this, so could you start from the beginning and take me all the way through?
Sure, Tom. How much
No.
time do you have?
No. The couple of comments. The agreement itself, whether you adopt it or not adopt it, cannot be based on what you think you might or might not do with the rezoning. You can't predetermine in any fashion if there is an application for a rezone that is going to be coming up to the council. There is no way for you to predetermine how you might dispose of that item prior to your action on it. Therefore, I would recommend that if you're going to consider this wall because the individual wants to move, and I assume the city manager knows the urgency of development or what the schedule is, and obviously the developer would like to be able to move prior to what might be the expected consideration of the rezone. If that's the case, then as the manager has pointed out, it's his risk if he wants to do that, and the way to cover it is with the agreement. My addition to that is there is a bond that is required to be posted, and I drafted some language here to leave with the manager to have him talk with Tom about it, that identifies the right of the city to execute on that bond without any qualifications. And when the bond, by the nature of the necessity of completing the improvements, will be executed on, and a provision for a written notice to them of the fact that the bond is going to be executed on, so they can't complain they had no notice. And I just feel very strongly, having been bitten in court too many times about this right to execute on bonds, that I want it made very clear to the developer that, you know, it's his risk. It is not going to be the city's risk. And I'm sure that that he should not object to that, but then again, I'm not the developer. But I will leave this with Cleve, and check it out with Tom and decide how you would like to format it in any form to the agreement, if the council decides to allow the agreement to go forward.
Then we can just send this back to staff and have it redone and at the next meeting, if
Well-
we decide to
Well,
do it.
you could approve it and authorize the manager to move forward with the approval of the city attorney. Based on, you don't have to wait. It's just the language modification with regard to execution on the bond, subject to the approval of the city manager and the city attorney. And if they approve, then they can go forward with the execution, if you approve the deferred improvement agreement.
That's the real issue.
I think that personally, from what we picked up at the joint meeting that we had with the Planning Commission, that I see no reason to change our stance on this. That there are just too many problems with putting housing in that area. Not only the noise, but the extra traffic, and the extra children will be out there on the street, and it'll be a highly used street by the trucks. I just don't think it's going to fit in. So what's the pleasure of the rest of the council?
I want to understand from council just what you elaborated upon, that given this bond, if any event that we defer this, that we can come in and restate and say we want the wall put up. Is that correct?
Well, there's no question but what the agreement would allow you to do that at some point. It's absolutely a matter of certainty in the agreement that within 2 years plus a construction period, 2.5 years is what it amounts to, under any conditions, the fence will either be approved as is if if wooden fence is installed because of the rezone, or if there has been no rezone occur, they must complete the approved planning condition buffer zone block wall. I assume it's a block wall fence, berm and block wall. The purpose of the bond is to make sure that at a certain later date, the construction occurs.
Right. Well, partly my decision would be based on the presentation and information that I garnished from our previous joint meeting to actually warrant the deferral, given the fact that it would be the builder's risk and not the city's risk. It just makes sense to me. And I don't make it from a personal stance, I make it based on the information that's been presented to me.
I agree with my colleague.
Again, the
I'm
problem
for-
problem for the
I'm
council
I'm
is
for it.
you have to, has there been an application for a rezone filed?
No.
Yes,
It has.
on that one, yes,
On
there
the
has.
the industrial property that's the concern.
Yes, right, Judy? That's the one that he brought in. Yes, yes, there has been, yeah, because yes.
Since that rezone application is on file, the developer is asking for this deferral, and as long as it's at his own risk,
Yeah.
I can't tell the council that you don't or should not proceed with it. You know, it's a little amazing to me that he couldn't wait till you get a further indication from the planning commission and the council as to the rezone, but maybe his time is money. I understand
Yeah.
for developers.
I don't
It
see
may
any,
be worth it, but he has to pay the price of a performance bond and be ready to tear that wooden fence down.
I don't see any problem with not approving it, so.
I concur. Somebody gonna make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we reconsider authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Woodside Homes to defer wall improvements. And I'll call for a, well,
With further approval of his.
We have the bond.
inclusive of the
Approved, yeah,
bond, the
yeah.
bond is.
Approved by the city manager and the attorney.
The city attorney.
Well,
The
that's,
city attorney.
that's the adjustment on the bond that was written in initially, so I don't see where this has changed. But with the.
Well,
with the-
it will be additional language that will be added by the city attorney.
Well, I would add the amendment of the additional language to my
Second.
motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Passes 3-1.
That's all right. The developer may dislike the language so much that he won't go forward anyway.
That's true.
My specialty.
Item number 9D, authorize city manager to execute agreement with RRM Design Group for design services for downtown plaza. Cleve, you want to elaborate on that?
Don't have a lot. Hopefully, there's enough information in the staff report so you understand what we have. As you can see from the estimates, Phase 1, RRM Design Group was slightly lower. Phase 2, SWA Group was slightly lower. I did check out both groups. They both are very reputable firms. I don't have a problem with either one. Due to the fact that RRM on both projects is about $1,400 higher. However, due to their experience, their familiarity with the project, their ability to move forward immediately, they're local to this area. I felt that the staff's recommendation in the best interest of the project as a whole to consider RRM Design Group for the project.
I agree to that.
I agree.
Yeah.
They've been very good with us on this streetscape while they were here. Can we have some direction on this?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 9E, discussion of streetscape project and review of final punch list.
Question.
Yes.
I came for a meeting to do a downtown walk. And it was canceled. Did we ever have that
No.
rescheduled?
The meeting was not rescheduled.
The meeting was supposed to be on Monday. There was a wrong date on the sheet, so we, Councilmember Fantasia said he wasn't going to be here that day, and he did his tour over the weekend and gave me a list. Councilmember Parker and I met and went over the whole thing. Councilmember Applegate was quite, oh, you were ill that day, yeah.
Yeah.
He hadn't recovered from his trip.
I still haven't.
Still haven't,
Well, I
what
thought we
happens
should
when
have,
you get
I think we
And-
should have gone over all these. I mean,
Well, what Ernie and Ray Little and Cleve went over these first 2 pages. The third page is the one that Tim and I and John came up with. All but item number 10 on the third page. And this is evidently the responsibility of PG&E, is that right, Ernie?
The trench.
The trench.
Yes.
That's Pac Bell.
Pac Bell, yeah.
And have we contacted them and asked them to please fill it in and no
We-
results, so.
We've contacted them on a couple of occasions through Ray Little. Ernie has just told me today that he got the contact person's name again now, and he will be putting some pressure on them to get that filled. So, but that is not the responsibility of the contractor.
No, I knew it wasn't the contractor,
Sure.
but I didn't know who it was.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think it's important and considerate that my colleagues having this list, that they do have an opportunity to peruse it for themselves. Although there was an error in the date for that special meeting for us to meet as a group, I think it would be prudent, even if one of the council members that doesn't know about this punch list specifically, peruse the downtown streetscape themselves so that we can have an adequate discussion. I trust what staff has done, and because I've had an opportunity to go and look myself along with you, and there were some things that we were able to pull out that weren't on the initial punch list. I think they should have that same opportunity for us to bring it back for discussion. It's just listed as a discussion item. We can go forward with that, but it's going to have to be brought back again.
Bob, can you do that?
well, the thing of it is that what I want someone that knows exactly the problems down there to point them out to me, because I don't want to go down there and be looking around to see where the problems lie. I mean, it's quite obvious. It says Mel's Liquor Store, the sidewalk flag curling. Where's that at?
Yeah, if you'd like to, if
I mean,
you'd like to do it that way, Councilmember Martinez, we could arrange for myself and Ernie to do a walkthrough individually with
Sure.
any of you.
Well,
that haven't done
but
that.
I was here.
I understand, and I apologize.
That's
I was
a-
also gone during that time. I understand what the mix-up happened there, and we apologize for that. But we are willing to do that still and show you, because it is, just looking at these, to go out and find what they're talking
This-
about, it is a little bit
It
difficult.
doesn't make any sense for a person that
Sure.
doesn't know exactly what they're looking for to go
Right.
down and look for these.
Yeah, I think.
Because what you may end up doing is looking at something that's really not on this list.
That's right, yeah.
I haven't
And,
seen any of it, so.
Ernie and
Are you
I
going to be
actually
able to
walked
get
through,
out there,
because we
Bob?
didn't go
Can you get a
through.
wheelchair?
Can we use a wheelchair for Tom?
No, I'm
Sure.
serious.
Seriously?
I can't walk very
He
far.
can't walk
Okay.
that far now, so.
We can arrange something, yeah. Ernie and I walked through, because we weren't sure the additional items that you added on this last page. But we were able to go through and determine what ones you had picked out. And for the most part, all of those are ones. We have a couple of explanations that we'll get back to you on some of those that may not be the contractor's responsibility, but we'll get back to you on those. But
Okay, and have we contacted the contractor?
not yet. We wanted to go through, well,
Okay.
the contractor has seen our list, I believe. He has not seen the additional list. Oh, he did get this staff report, so yes, he has seen it now.
Okay.
And he has talked to Ernie briefly about it, but I wanted to go through this process before I sit down and discuss this with him.
think he likes this anymore. The contractor.
Okay, so what we'll do is, Bob, you want to go with someone? And,
Yeah, I want to go with someone that knows exactly the problems. I don't want to go with
Okay.
just someone.
Okay.
I want to,
how about Ernie? Can you, well, when can you do this?
I could have
First of
done it last time I was here. And I was here and nobody else was. The question is, okay,
Yeah.
I'll get with Ernie after the meeting.
all. Okay. And Tom, if we find you some mode of transportation,
Yeah.
you'd like to too? Okay, we'll
Yeah.
see what we can do.
We
Maybe we
do
can
something.
borrow someone's little three-wheel scooter or something. get
I'll
you
use
down.
the Knob Hills.
There you go.
Oh,
Okay.
that's Mike.
Pardon? The intersection, that is on our list.
You haven't seen this, have you? Oh. You really don't show the total intersection. There's several little items there, but it doesn't really say that what we think the whole intersection should be rebuilt, possibly, or the crosswalks or whatever.
Well, I
That's
think
I
what,
would vote for. That place is a mess.
maybe that didn't get included in there, did it, Ernie? I thought we had the,
It's not on your
The
list,
se-
no.
what we had originally talked about was at least the south crosswalk was the major problem, the south crosswalk on Fresno.
Yeah, there's your gutter pan, large crack, southeast corner.
I would say north, south, east, and west.
Number 17, south crosswalk, serious cracking.
Yeah, there it is. Number 17 was what staff recommended.
Okay, south crosswalk, serious cracking. All right. Possibly we should put on there that we think it should be rebuilt.
I,
Okay,
the whole thing's a mess.
anything else on this? We'll have it at the next meeting then, if everyone's had a chance to peruse it. Okay, number 9F. Third annual Katie Pfluger fundraiser informational report. Whoa.
Turn it off on the bottom.
Oh, that's better.
That's how you act in a high-pressure situation, sir.
We need it. We need it for the sound, right?
Just talk loud.
Try switching it back on now, Mike, and see if it will.
Don't touch it, Mike.
You need both of them on.
There we go. Right.
Is it on? No. Still not on. There, okay.
Combination, you got to get it at one time. Okay, the Katie Pfluger fundraiser event is scheduled for October 19th at Pioneer Park, and this will be its third year. Proceeds of the event go towards the Pfluger's daughter's ongoing medical therapy. Katie was involved in an automobile accident in 1987, left her immobile and without some motor skills. She has since recovered some sight and some of her motor skills. In the past 2 years, they've used the park, had craft food vendors, car show, live music, and sold beer. They have added for this year our arm wrestling competition and horseshoe contest. They've had approximately about 1,000 people attend. That'd be kind of like over the course of the event, not all at one time, at their event. And this has not generated any law enforcement concerns in the past 2 years. They have private security guards that they've used as part of the requirement for the sale of the alcohol, and this will continue this year. No additional law enforcement staffing is being recommended by myself or will be used this year. Even with the additional events, we don't anticipate any kind of a larger crowd for this upcoming year. The car show will be on Q Street from Fresno to Tulare, and that's the closure I spoke of earlier. And this should not pose any problem. There are only 2 homes that actually come on to that street there, and we'll be making sure that the access for their driveways in and out of that closure will be made available to them. The one change that we are looking at this year is that the Pflugers are not doing this as a private individual, but and are not under a recognized nonprofit organization as they have in the past years. This means that the City Council would be authorizing and sanctioning this event as any private individual wanting to put on a fundraiser. The department has made requirements of the Frugers that are consistent to what has been required in other such events. They're requesting that the city furnish some equipment, services, and a waiver of fees as outlined in the staff report. I have listed the requirements and the Frugers' request. Tim Fruger is here and present to answer any kind of questions the council may have. So with that, I'll give Tim an opportunity to speak to this, and then I'll answer any kind of questions you may have of either of us.
As noted earlier, I'm supposed to state my name. My name's Tim Pfluger, and I live at 1030 Magpie Court. We've done this fundraiser for the past 2 years, and with your permission, we're going to do this basically the same thing we did before. It's basically a barbecue, and we last year we added the car show to draw some more people in. Katie's therapy continues, and we had a lot of requests from the community, so that's why we decided to do it again a third year. We have obtained liability insurance as requested by the city, and you should have received a copy of that. I don't know where that goes, who it goes to, what office.
That would then end up going to our finance department.
So
I'm not sure if we have it yet, but it comes into our office.
it was
so.
to be sent directly to you, and I'm receiving a copy too. We're in the process of obtaining the ABC permit. They required a site plan this year, which I drew for them. And I have a copy if you'd like to see it. Also, the signs that say alcohol will not be consumed beyond the limits of the park are going to be posted all around the park. And the security guard will patrol that portion. The beer will only be consumed in plastic cups, and IDs will be checked. And I'm kind of going down a list here. We paid for the letter of clearance from the police department, and let's see what else. Yeah, we have security, and we're requesting from the city council that the restrooms be open for the event as they were in the past. And we will be responsible for cleanup of the park as we have been in the past. And I think, let's see. Okay, we are required, the closure is Q Street, and there will be a 20-foot clear area for police and fire department if necessary through the middle of that. And that is requested from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and the use of the park is requested from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. although the event will be, it's advertised from 11 to 6, so that gives us time to get set up and to clean up. And the only other request, well, I got a couple here, is that we have the electricity on and the lights for the band, and that we have we're requesting that we use the city's traffic control devices for the Q Street closure, and the delineators, which will also help the patrolmen so that the beer cups don't go outside the park limit. Those are those little orange delineators. And we'll set those, at intervals around the outside. And there was one other thing, and that was the vendors, which are not many, maybe probably 7 vendors, most of which are homespun crafts type people, and it's a city, I guess, a standard that they have $500,000 liability and obtain a city business license. And we're requesting at this time that those obligations be waived due to the smallness of the vendors. And I think that's about all I've got here. Should be a fun event, and you're all invited, for sure.
Tim, I have a couple questions. First of all, the signs that specify you can only drink within the confines, Where will those signs be put? On that fence?
No,
delineated
those will be
fence?
posted on the on the posts. It's essentially the same as what was done this year at the Fall Festival, which is a new ABC requirement.
Well, some of them were put on trees, and I don't think that should be.
There's four,
There's four
I think
signs.
they're streetlights.
I can answer that for you, Mayor. Basically, we did put them on trees during the Fall Festival along with the delineators. We could utilize, according to the map that we have here, I think ABC will permit us to just put them on the delineators themselves, and then we could position those throughout the park. We have to indicate that
That's
on the
what I
site
was
map, so that can be done. That's not an
Okay.
obstacle, I don't believe.
And the other question was, you requested a placement of a flatbed equipment trailer in a park near the gazebo to be used as a stage for live music. Why can't they just go ahead and use the gazebo for their stage?
As it turns out, the band said the flatbed was too small anyway, so they will be using the gazebo.
Okay, all right.
The arm wrestling competition wanted a larger platform. And they're gonna be going on simultaneously, so we're still trying to get some kind of staging for the arm wrestling.
Okay.
They just want a level area. I wanna put them by the picnic tables.
Anyone else have any questions for
Yeah.
Tim while he's there?
Yeah, number 11, the vendors and businesses,
Yes.
they're for-profit vendors and businesses? They're out there to make a profit?
Yes.
Do you get any of that profit?
In years past, I'd say 80% of them gave all the money to Katie. We require them to pay a $35 entry fee, and I don't think they made any money, but those that did gave it all to the Katie Kluger Fund. So
My only
it's
problem.
up to them, in other words.
My only problem with that is, did we require all the vendors, I can't remember now, at the Fall Festival to buy a business license? We discussed it, I remember, but did we waive
Yeah, I
it?
believe we've always waived the permit at the Fall Festival.
Okay, I
Okay.
just want to double check on that, yeah, okay. Anything else, Tom?
Will there be, are those restrooms adequate for a large group without having additional ones?
There hasn't been a problem in the past
Okay.
years.
Good.
So,
Okay.
the other thing I'd like to bring up too is number 4, for them to have even though they get the alcohol permit, we have an ordinance that actually forbids that without a special permit from the council. That's been waived by the council for other events, so that would be up to you. That's a request. There's a,
I don't,
Do you have to?
you have to have a permit to drink in the park.
Didn't we give you that authority, though?
No.
I thought we did.
If you want to, I'd take it from you, but.
Well, I mean, you were gonna check them out to make sure that they were above level and all that other kind of stuff.
Yes.
Okay. I thought we did that.
No.
why don't we do that? When do we put that on the agenda?
Yeah, why
for
don't we do that?
the
There's
future?
no- We trust you.
Good. Thank you.
So we didn't have to come back here all the time,
Yeah.
okay? Anything else? Is that okay?
But there would be also, he's utilizing, I just want to make sure it's clear too, that he's not looking for exclusive use of the park, but he's going to be extending, having an extensive use of that park, pretty much towards the Fresno side there. So it's more than just what the standard rental would be. So that's what the council would be aware of that.
But if others want to come in, they
Yeah, that's right. It's not,
Yeah,
like I said,
somebody
it's not
wanted
an
to take a couple
exclusive.
over on the Tulare side or something, there's probably
Right.
one available.
Right.
Okay,
Mr. Pfluger, I have noted here what appears to be a request from the council, number 4, 8, 11, 14, 15, and 16 in the staff report, which I don't have a particular aversion to for the cost. This is your 3rd year. Did you fall under some type of nonprofit umbrella in the previous 2 years where you're making these requests as a private person this year?
The first year, we had no nonprofit affiliation at all.
Okay.
The second year, we chose to have another nonprofit, which is called the Roger Hansen Memorial Museum.
I
They
recall
hold a
that.
nonprofit for their museum.
Okay.
The reason that was done, honestly, was because in San Benito County, we did an event in Hollister, and they absolutely required it. That's why we brought those guys in. But in the first year, we didn't.
Okay.
Anything else? Anything else, Tim?
No, I have nothing further.
Bob?
No, I have nothing.
Okay. I think that we can do this by consensus, can't we?
Do you need any action item on this, Mike, or, well, probably on the alcohol issue, because
Requests.
you probably ought to just take action to approve the
All right.
request as granted. As requested.
Someone want to make a motion?
Is that a motion?
No, no, I don't do that.
Okay. Second?
Somebody.
Oh, I'll second it.
I thought you seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right. Item number 10, items from the city manager.
We need 9G, the special item.
Oh,
we
I'm,
added.
With this one here.
oh, 9G, yeah, I'm sorry. I wrote it on here, but I didn't on the... Okay. Item number 9G. Authorize staff to execute agreement with George Souza for construction of drainage system in Newman Industrial Park for a total cost of $58,050. What was our figure before?
The original figure, I apologize for the lateness of this, however, I just got all these figures together today. As you know, we've been working on this to try to move this project forward. In the first paragraph, it explains we were approximately $60,000 to $75,000 was our initial estimate going into this project. Our portion, based on a distribution of the property sizes out there, would have been 27% or $20,175. That's 27% of the $75,000 maximum. After we refined all the costs, got everything from the electrical, the pump costs, everything that was necessary to proceed with this project, the actual project cost has come out to $116,100 in total. So you can see there was quite an increase. The initial numbers we came up with were just that, just on talking to people, et cetera. We had not done, all of the exploration we needed to, but we were trying to fast track this a little bit. And that's why these numbers, our city engineer told us when we initially came up with those numbers that he felt they were low when we came up with them with Mr. Souza. So I'm not real surprised that these raised. Mr. Souza at the time felt fairly confident that he could get it done for the lesser amount, but now it's clear that it can't be done for that. The other point, if you were to look at the 116,000 divided as a land proportion, that would come out to approximately $31,347. Mr. Souza, however, for various reasons, has requested that rather than distribute it by the land size, that we participate in 50% and he will pay 50% of the cost. And that's where the $58,050 figure has come from. Now, the staff reviewed this and looked a little bit and looked at it, and actually by putting this system in, it does not just benefit our property, it does not just benefit his property, it benefits a much wider area. In addition, as we are putting this in, the people that are really going to benefit from it at this time is the city being able to develop the property that we are under contract with developers to proceed with. Mr. Souza will benefit from it in the future. However, it will be quite a bit in the future because there are other utilities that are still going to be required for him before he is going to be able to develop the remainder of his property. There is not water and sewer to a major portion, and to a major portion of it, even storm drainage will not be available down there. Sewer, I believe, is the main component that we will have concerns with. Water and storm drainage, I think we're going to be able to meet, but because sewer presents a little bit of a different problem in getting the lines to flow the direction they need to, and et cetera, to make it work, and so there's a little bit more of a problem with that one. So it will be either a time when there's going to be some more significant development happen down there, or a big developer that comes in and wants to develop that whole area to the east of our property before Mr. Souza would actually benefit from this development. So based on those analysis, and as we looked at it, I've put some things in this report. I realize you just got it tonight, but for various reasons, by doing this way and participating with Mr. Souza, allowing him to do the project, it is less costly for the city. He can do it much cheaper than what we would be able to do if we were to go in and do it by ourselves. So it's staff's recommendation that we have our city attorney draft an agreement that the city would participate in 50% of the cost up to the $58,000 that has been proposed at this time. And you have also attached to the staff report a breakdown of what that $58,000 will consist of, and I can attempt to answer any questions that you may have regarding that, the breakdown of that.
On this loss of income from farming, $15,000, where does that come in?
What that is if he were not doing this, he would be disking the ground and preparing another crop to go in right now. He will not be able to do that because of the work that will go on, and he has been told by the contractor that even after we get this in, they are going to mound the dirt over these pipelines, and they have to be watered significantly over the winter to make sure that they settle properly over the ground and do not create any problems. And therefore, they've told him that essentially he won't be able to farm the ground until next spring when we have all of this resolved. So he's basically missing one crop, and this is the value that he has estimated one crop off that land.
Well, with all that said, I'd like to comment on this.
I think we're done with that for tonight anyway.
Send that one to Patterson.
Yeah.
The Mike Brady microphone.
My point was going to be in regards to these estimates. We also got the bids on these estimates that you have before us here. I understand Mr. Souza was working on this for us, but did we also peruse these? Are these adequately appropriate, these particular bids for the cost?
I've reviewed them with Ernie. Ernie and I have. The fact of this is that we are saying that we won't actually pay this money until we get the invoices from him.
Okay.
We've checked it, and he's agreed to that. What will happen is as an invoice comes in, we will pay 50% of the invoice for these items. The only one that was questioned that would have to be treated differently is the loss of income from farming. So because there would be no invoice on that. That's his estimate of what he would lose from income in one crop in farming that. And what I basically told him is, you know, at the end of this project, he could invoice us for 50% of that loss of income. He'll be taking the other 50% himself.
We would pay 50% of invoice not to exceed $116,100.
Correct. Okay. That's the way we're proposing
Oh.
it. Now, I'm not sure that that's completely acceptable to him, because if the cost comes in higher than that,
That's what
he
I'm
may
talking about.
he may come back to us again and say, look, these are the actual costs that it came out at. We're pretty comfortable that these costs are correct now. I haven't seen the actual estimate that he was provided by McIlvaney,
Right.
but we
That
will
was my
see
question.
that. I haven't seen that yet. We just got these numbers actually today, and I have not been able to verify.
basically
I've looked at some of
these are
them, but I
verbal
haven't been able,
numbers.
yes, yes. I haven't been able to verify all of those. So, you know, again, it's partially that we want to move forward with this. So Ernie and I have reviewed them to see if we feel comfortable with them. But it's not that we will pay them automatically. It's only upon invoices that Mr. Souza would receive from the actual people that do the work.
I want to just say, from our initial $20,175 up to an increase of $38,000, it's a significant impact on making a budget adjustment.
Right.
That's quite a bit of money.
Sure.
The importance of this project is, with all of that verbiage, is are we going to be able to move forward with our industrial park after we've cleared the way, the path for this to be done with an efficient time amount? You know, we've been delaying for months now.
I know.
And I'm pretty much tired of it. to where I think it should be done. So is this going to help alleviate it? Or is
The
that-
industrial park cannot be done without this being done.
But do you have
No, that's-
assurances at all from Merced County that they're going to go ahead and accept it once it's
Exactly.
done?
Once we start
Except
moving.
this, or except the,
Except that we can now go forward and they don't have any problems with our.
Yeah.
Isn't that why they're stopped right now? Because we have a water table problem?
yes, they've asked us to verify the water table. We found it was too high. We are lowering it. Once we have the water table lower, we can submit the plans and show it in that, and they'll accept the plans. They've reviewed the plans several times.
You think they will?
Yeah.
You don't know for sure, though.
There's no
Well,
reason
see, they've
why they
already given
wouldn't.
us a lot.
Yeah, it's
I
the
know.
contingencies we've been jumping through hoops.
Sure.
So it's a primary concern.
Right,
So
I understand.
with that, we pay this cost.
There,
We,
there's no guarantees. That's all I can tell you. They have told us that this is the final piece that we need, but there's been some other times when we thought we had the
Yeah,
final
they
piece.
told us the same
Right.
thing.
But, so I can't tell you, I mean, I can't tell you what they're gonna do,
Well, it's just a gamble then.
but, yeah.
well, it's a,
The requirement is
$58,000
that
gamble.
you have a 2-foot separation from the bottom of the basin
Mhm.
to the water table. And if we meet that, they have no
there should be no
reason not to.
question.
Right,
Right.
okay. Well, just want to make sure everybody understands
Sure.
all this stuff.
I'm willing to absorb the cost. I do question the loss of income from farming. It seems to just be an arbitrary amount. We can pay the 50% on everything else that's here. I would question that amount.
Well, there must be a historical record.
Yeah,
I can attempt to get that
Yeah,
from him. Sure.
So I would actually mitigate out the $15,000 if we can show where he's gonna have a loss of, on his property from previous years of crops or something like that.
it
would
depends
only
on
be fair.
what he plants and what the value of that is every year. It changes, I'm sure.
There should be an average, though.
And, yeah, so I think, yeah, this is somewhere to look into, I believe, that this loss of income from farming. Outside of that,
Okay.
I agree, we
We
ought
have
to
to
go
move
through
forward.
with it.
Yeah,
We don't really
we
have
don't
a
have a choice.
That's right.
Well, I move to authorize staff to execute agreement with George Souza for construction of drainage system in Newman Industrial Park for a total cost of $58,050.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Now, we come to items from city managers. Do you have anything left to say, Cleve?
I think
other
I've covered
words.
enough tonight, unless the council has any questions on anything. I guess the one thing I should mention is the issue with the fence at the preschool. Some of you may have a question about that. I unfortunately don't have an answer on when that fence will be delivered. I was told, or initially, that it was shipped on the 18th of September. When I returned on Monday from the conference I was at, I had an email that said it actually had been delayed and had not shipped on the 18th, but had shipped on the 3rd of October, which was last Thursday. That caused us quite a delay. Since that time, since Monday, I've probably called the company 10 times and emailed them without a return phone call. I can't get them to return my call. I'm concerned with it. My last message I left them is that if I did not receive a phone call back from them, that I was going to consider canceling the order now and withholding the payment on it.
Probably sitting out there in the Oakland Harbor.
Well, could be. It did come from the East Coast, but I think it was coming by truck. But
Oh.
anyway, who knows? But I'm not sure where that's going to go now. I have not been able to resolve it. And they will not return my phone calls. I also called, I was so frustrated today with it, I called the Better Business Bureau in South Carolina, where the company is located, and filed a complaint with them on it to see if they could check into it. Because one of the phone calls I made today, I got an answering machine that said the answering machine was full and couldn't leave any more phone messages. So probably because about 5 or 6 of those were mine on there, but
Probably in bankruptcy.
And maybe in
Yeah.
Switzerland or somewhere.
yeah,
you know,
who knows?
Bermuda.
But they are listed with the Better Business Bureau and appear to be a legitimate company, and everything references I've done on stuff said they've got good materials and stuff. So, but
And the school can't open.
just to let you know, well, the one issue is it is possible for us to put up a temporary fence and allow the school to open. The school doesn't really want to do that, but I did check with the state inspector, and she told me that if you want to do it that way, that, yeah, you can do that. So we could put a temporary fence around the site, as long as it's a secure fence, as an interim, and then when we get the fence in, we would put it up and take down the temporary fence. So that is a possibility. They are scheduled to move in on the 18th of this month. They will begin, they've already started moving some of their stuff and getting set up. They've scheduled their inspector to come on the 20th of October. So we do need to have one of the two set up, either the temporary fence or the permanent fence, by that date.
So we would rent a fence, right?
Correct.
Do you know what the cost of renting a fence is?
I had it earlier, but I don't recall what it is. But,
And who would absorb the cost of this?
well, that's a good question. My guess would probably be that the city would, based on how this project's
Let's
gone.
look in and see how much it is. So.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's all I have, unless there's any
Okay.
questions.
Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief with my comments this evening. I did want to allude to the conference we just recently attended, the statewide conference for all of the council members and mayors throughout the state. And I just wanted to comment on several of the workshops I was able to attend. One in particular was in regards to ethics and conducting yourself properly in meetings, and how that you balance the act of the community and taxpayers' money. I think it's money that are well spent if we go there and gain the knowledge and information that we can bring back to town. I think it's very important that we make it a point to share it with the public. Of course, we heard from the gubernatorial candidate Bill Simon and a number of other speakers, but I think in the closing session, what I brought back most out of the conference was from Mr. Josephson, who is a founder of the Institute of Ethics. And just on that subject, one of the things that he spoke of that he made clear is, you know, you start that example out when you're younger and you grow into it, but there's something that you can always learn. Basically, maybe doing the right thing when no one else is watching. And I just wanted to convey that the conference I thought was very, very beneficial.
I will be obtaining that video for the city.
Or Mr. Josephson?
He was outstanding
I have nothing further.
in
Thank
his
you.
field.
Okay. Tom?
One of the things I found out, and talking to several cities, some our size and everything else, that I can bring this up because I'm leaving office. The state has approved, we can get up to $500 per person for council members, according to what the state law rules are. It goes by population. And what I was thinking of, and since I think almost all of us here, you know, we far exceed what we get each month. And I would like to, with the consensus of the council, go to staff and have Judy go to cities throughout the state of our size and see what other cities are doing. Because some cities I found out they have health benefits, or you can take either the pay increase or the health benefit, you know. So what I'd like to see for our council is to have her look into that and then bring it back to council.
Can we do that and bring back the next meeting and look at that? Anything else, Tom?
No, but maybe more people would show up and run for office.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Everyone is, sure.
I think.
Anything else then? Okay. Bob?
Yeah, we had a very good conference, and the conference offers a lot to a lot of different people. The thing that really impressed me the most is that we saw a lot of young people there this time. And if all possible, I'd like to see some youth from this area be able to attend the next one, which will be in Sacramento. And it's amazing the contribution that the young people are making out there. And they've even helped to change a lot of laws because they've organized themselves and they presented their case before their councils, and they've changed some important laws. And I think getting young people involved like that will make a difference in the future. And it only can be beneficial to our community if we can afford to be able to send a few of our young people from this area to that council maybe next year in Sacramento. That's all I have.
There were a lot of kids there.
I agree that we ought to look into that. It isn't that expensive. It's something like $75 per.
And it's unbelievable. If you could see those young people and the way they conducted themselves, and they were really excited about what was going on, and really felt good about politics and what was going on. It was good to see. It was healthy, very healthy.
Yes. All but the food.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
healthy.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger was really something else. He was.
He's not as tall as he looks either.
I tell you, the guy was amazing.
He was an excellent speaker, whether you agreed with him or not. Why?
Yeah.
He was very good. They had some good speakers. The rest of the conference, I thought, could have been improved. But what's the status of our planner that we were supposed to?
We've scheduled interviews for the 22nd. We have, I believe it's 7 is the number that we will be interviewing. We had 10 applications, 10 or 11 applications, and we will be interviewing 7 of those.
Okay, so we should have something by the first meeting in November?
Yeah.
Okay. Have these people been contacted, these 7 or whatever?
No, we've got the letters ready. I've selected them. The letters will be going out probably tomorrow. I tried to get them out today, but
Okay.
probably tomorrow.
And what happened, what about our parking lot? Ernie, did you ever get any figures on doing something with our, the parking lot area where we tore down the DeMary buildings?
I have the city engineer taking a look at it. They're going to have a survey crew, shoot some elevations, and then cost it out so that we can see if we can bring in some base rock and get it, get the work going on it. We gotta be sure that we get the proper drainage there, especially with the coming rains.
When are they going to do this?
I spoke with him about it last week, and I believe he was scheduling the surveyor for, I think either at the end of this week or early next week, I'm not sure.
Because it's going to rain 2 weeks from Thursday. And we would definitely be a quagmire if we don't get something on that, so.
Well,
see if we
I'll
can-
talk to him tomorrow. I talked to him today, and I think he said it is the end of this week. He's going to have George, the surveyor, out here. He was asking me about, there's some other things that we needed surveyed